So it's with great pleasure that I invite Kerexu to come and talk more about the Brazilian situation. Kerexu is one of the leaders of the collective association of indigenous people in Brazil, and she will share an overview of some of the issues facing indigenous people currently.
Bom dia.
Bom dia.
Quero agradecer o convite.
I would like to thank the invitation for being part of this activity. And this is very important for us to be here talking to all of you here. I am Kerexu. I'm from the Guarani people. I live in the forest, in the Mata Atlântica rainforest. But I'm here to talk in the name of the indigenous people in Brazil. In Brazil, we speak 275 different languages. And I will speak a little about how us indigenous people live, how our system works within this planet, how we understand the value of life that we want to share with you. Us indigenous people are related to nature because we are part of nature. We don't see nature as a separate thing, as water or the land as a separate thing, because we believe that we're the son of a creator that created the forest, the animals, and human beings. And if we are created by a divinity that created all of us, automatically we are brothers. Oh, we're different from one another, but we are brothers. And being brothers and sisters, we respect, we protect, and we also understand when a species of our family is being threatened. We understand when the forest cries. We understand when our animals are in danger. And it's within this relationship that we are connected with the planet. And I believe that all of us, I'm not just talking about us indigenous people, I'm talking about us, all human beings, all living beings. We need to have this understanding. At some point, part of the human beings disconnected themselves from life and lost this alignment of how to follow through this transition of life, and we've reached what we have reached today. So I would also like to apologize if I criticize Europe at some point, because I understand the issue of how the European system works. But I will be talking about my people, about my land, about my territory, that is Brazil. And I will be talking about the Europeans. Over 519 years ago, we have seen and have been going through a number of struggles, many struggles in our Brazil, because we've always lived in harmony with nature. We've always had the idea of life and abundance in every single way. But in 1500, when the ships arrived crossing the Atlantic Ocean, arriving in Brazil, we started to have many losses of animals, forests, life, trees, and all this wealth that today continues, and they continue to kill us, to kill the original peoples. That's why we had to fight in every single way. We've been fighting against a system that tried to keep us in, to separate us, and killed many of our warriors. But we continue in this resistance. We were treated as incapable people for 519 years. When Brazil was discovered, the letter that was sent to Europe talking about the beauty and the wealth that there was in Brazil, gold, plants, wood, animals, and everything that we had, even though in terms of the richness of the people. Then after this letter, we see a reversal when we get to the point where they say that us indigenous people, we didn't have gods, we didn't have kings, we didn't have kingdoms, so that today they treat us as invaders of our own land. And this is how we're treated in Brazil, as invaders. For us to be able to demarcate our territory, our little bit of land, they need to go through a whole scientific research to show that this is our space. And how often the governors of the land don't do it in good faith. They say that we don't belong to that territory. And that territory never had any frontiers. It was never cut. Ours, from the Guarani people, it extends through 5 countries: Paraguay, Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil. And for us, there is no territory. Where we are Bura, we are the people. And who fragmented all this? It was the policies. And when the policies came to divide our territory, it was all done through war. And this is what we have been going through now in Brazil. Since the election campaign last year in 2018, we had a number of candidates who put forward to take over Brazil, to become the president of Brazil. And one of these candidates used to say, if I become elected, I will not be demarcating anymore, not even a centimeter of land for you. And then he comes back and he corrects himself. It's not a centimeter, it's a millimeter, and we're not doing that. And this is exactly the person who won the election last year, who took power and started to reverse all the struggles and all the gains that we had 519 years. For 519 years, he goes back and puts the original people in the front line for extermination, offering what we still have in terms of wealth in our forests, as in the Brazilian Amazon, giving to Europe, to the USA again, delivering that which remains of our wealth. But for us, the original people who were treated for 519 years as incapable people, we also had this struggle of getting up and to be here like we are today talking to you in Europe, that to say that this incapacity with which they treated us, today we say we are a capable people because we were able to preserve water, food, fresh air. That's where it comes from. That's what we came to say, that we were able to do this and that we have this ability, and we're not here to say that we're going to ask or demand this of you for 519 years ago. We've been going through this struggle, to this torture, but we are inviting you to join us in the struggle, because this is a global fight for our lives, and it depends on all of us. So we have no time to have for remorse. We want you to come into the struggle to reforest the Atlantic rainforest, to reforest the Amazon, and to reforest our hearts, our minds. Because I think more than the forests that are in every single biome, what was deforested was us, human beings. and other human beings who came to destroy nature. So we invite you to do reforestation, to reconnect with life. And there's nothing better than this moment, this difficult period that we're through, that we know we have nowhere else to go. And we know that if we continue in this way, the planet will be destroyed.
And we say in Brazil that we have no B planet, we have just one planet. And we say this reconnection that we are calling us to do is to make us go back to our roots, to our sources. We have to be reborn again. And this is what we are inviting you to do today. In our struggle, many laws have been passed to guarantee our rights. In Brazil, the Federal Constitution, enacted in 1988, guarantees the demarcation of indigenous lands. We have our organizations, and we also have international law. Law 169, issued by the International Labor Organization. So all of you who are here today, if you are aware of the destruction that has taken place and all that we have been through in Brazil, help us enforce our rights internationally. Speak out against the backlash, against the extermination of the indigenous peoples of Brazil. We would also like to talk to you about our connection with spirituality and divinities. Yesterday, what we saw in the ceremony of the Mamos is no different to the things that we believe. Indigenous peoples all around the world, we account for less than 10% of all the people living in this world. And we, indigenous peoples all over the world, we preserve 80% of all the forests. So, in Brazil, there is a lot of talk about the demarcation of land. Too much land for very few people, very few indigenous peoples. Less than 10% of the people in the world are working to preserve 80% of the forests. Don't you think there are too few indigenous peoples to look after life, the life of the whole world? So we would like to invite you to work with us in our struggle. Let's think about the divinities, the water, the forest, the fire. We strive for our land, and we focus on sustainability. In Brazil, incredible as it may seem, when we strive for preservation of the forest, there are people who are dying. They have no job, they have no land. We sometimes get the worst land and we starve. And with this current backlash, we have been performing miracles. Because of our connection with spirituality and our beliefs, we believe in Yanderu, that's what we Guaranis called this divinity. When we adore this divinity, things come to us. In these moments of backlash and angst, we see that the miracle of life is coming back to us. And this has to do with sustainability. It's our journey. We want to sustain ourselves, and we have been performing miracles. We have been receiving miracles from the divinity. And women have been essential in our struggle. 519 years Many generations, many warriors have fallen. And the women were the guardians of the culture, of the language, and of the seeds. The women have been able to organize all the tribes to allow life to continue to flourish. Many of our warriors went to war and never came back. Some knew they were going to perish. But despite that, we indigenous women, we revere our seeds, our language, our culture. And we realize that our warriors, many of them are still dying. In this more recent attack in the Amazon, many leaders have perished, have been murdered in this struggle. And our women, they are there, planting the seeds, preserving the language, raising families. We today in Brazil decided that we, indigenous women, we had to take a stance. We had to say, we have a sustainable proposal to put forward to the world. In August, more than 2,000 indigenous women got together and we said, we have a sustainable proposal for the world. We need to be listened. We need protection because we protect and we have protected indigenous cultures, traditional seeds, varieties of seeds. We have protected our language. When we pray in our language. Spirituality is within that language. It's not only one word that we say and one word that dies. For us, words are seeds as well. And when we sow words, we have the fruits of these words. We are the stewardesses of these words and the sustainability of our territories. The women are also in the struggle. I am a grassroots leadership, and I am also a political leadership. I always speak on behalf of the women. And I am concerned sometimes. I am scared sometimes. I've been in the struggle for more than 10 years. I have been threatened. I have been persecuted. People have fired against my house. My mother was raped in an attack that had to do with the demarcation of land. And I am very concerned from a political point of view. But as an indigenous woman, when I think about spirituality, I feel strong. I feel strong, and I know I can come and go, and I can let out my cry, and I can tell my enemies and those who are unaware of the indigenous issues and questions, I ask them to join us because we are on the best side. There is no machine that can make water, pure air, that can give us land and that can give us food. We can process and industrialize the seeds, but no machine invented by human beings can do that. And we know that. We know that if we plant a tree, we will have pure air, pure water, and it's going to protect us from many things. We have the sacred, we have the spirituality inside us, together with our brothers and sisters.
dos nossos irmãos que são
our brothers and sisters
as plantas
who are the
e os
plants
animais,
and the
né, que
animals.
são partes das nossas famílias.
They are part of our
Então,
families.
eu acho que era isso que eu tinha para falar.
This is what I had to
E
say.
aí deixar esse convite, né,
And I
a
want to
todos
invite
para
you
que a
all
gente plante vidas.
to plant lives,
Comece a semear essas vidas, que a gente
to
comece
sow these
a
lives,
se reconectar
and
com as,
to
com as
reconnect
vidas, a se reconectar
with
com as
the
nossas
lives,
raízes,
with
se
our
reconectar
roots,
com as sementes, para que a gente
reconnect with
consiga
the seeds,
viver mais pouco,
so
né?
we can live a little bit longer. If we go on like this, there will be no other planet for us. Thank you.